Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Anheuser-Busch Productions here on the Anheuser-Busch YouTube channel. And today we're bringing you some action from the Fontana Spring Championship being played at beautiful Fontana Dam, North Carolina. And as always, I am joined with my broadcasting partner, Paul Rankin, aka Paul Kevin. Go ahead and say hey to everybody, Paul.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching.
Yeah, and it is an absolutely beautiful course, and we really caught a beautiful day as well. I mean, it was a little bit chilly in the morning, but outside of that, it just turned out to be a lovely day. Here is going to be the feature card coming into this round one of the event. Chuck Harris, Ethan Smith, Garrett Maddox, David Diehl, and Brandon Harrell. Here is hole one. Paul, Kevin, talk a little bit about hole one right here and this course in general.
Right, so hole one, you can see from the drone footage, it's just a really short, straightforward hole. It's a good hole to start out on. Just get up and down, get your birdie. Definitely the shortest hole on the course, one that everybody's looking to. The course itself has a really good variety. There's a lot of tight shots, open shots, a lot of elevation, but every hole has something to think about and definitely a line to hit. So it's a lot of fun to play and a lot of fun to watch as well.
Yeah, and that's something I've actually never really seen anyone try on this hole. Chuck Harris going with the flick shot. I mean, the route's there, but he caught the tree right in the middle of the fairway. Ethan showing more of the conventional route, throw it pretty much right at the basket with a little bit of a hyzer. However, that is a new little facade or little building up thing right there that we have going on with the wood added to it. It used to just be a steep hill right there, and you'd have rollaways. So this hole actually got easier, in my opinion, with the addition of that wooden face.
Yeah, and you can see most of the players are just taking a simple straight backhand hyzer into that hill. You're not worried about going long. That's not really a possibility. And with that shelf there, you are less worried about rollaways, which is a plus. There's a lot of rollaways on this course in general, just because of all the slopes and everything. So it's good to have a little less concern about that on your first hole.
Yeah, that is one thing that you really just can't ever show on camera, is how much of a slope something is. Like where Garrett's standing right now, I'd be worried about falling on my butt and sliding back down that hill. So,
and yeah, that was a significantly downhill putt, and is a good conversion for him. Start off his round.
Let's see if Ethan's able to make good as well. He's probably got about 20 feet, looking a pretty good bit uphill at it. Just never got the height on it. I'm telling you, that was a much more uphill putt than it looks, and it's just so hard to get the height on those uphill putts.
Yeah, when you're that close to the basket and still that uphill, the window to miss vertically is much smaller than it would be normally. So it's an understandable miss, but definitely one he wasn't hoping to make.
There was David converting on a 2 on the first hole. Brandon looking to do the same. Oh, no. Spit out early on in the round is never what you want.
Yeah, it looked like a pretty good putt. Maybe just hit the nubs a little short early and bounced up. That happens sometimes, but hopefully he can shake that off and get back on track with his putting.
Yeah, there's Chuck, and I'm not going to say this too often on this hole, having to save a par from about 20 feet. Usually you're just tapping in pars like Brandon and Ethan are if you miss it.
Yeah, one thing about this course is scoring separation is not going to be because of big numbers usually. This course is, I wouldn't say deuce or die because there's a lot of par fours, but it's definitely a birdie or die kind of course. You want to get every hole out here, and if you par anything, you feel like you're losing out.
For sure, for sure. Now we're on to the first par 4 on the course. Once again, sorry for what kind of looks like drunken drone footage flying right here. I was coming in and out of service while flying the drone and whatnot. It was extremely elevated. It was hard to fly this drone, so cut me a little bit of slack, peeps. I'm getting you some good little footage out here, and Garrett's trying to put a good little shot down towards the basket. Believe he catches, yeah, you saw him catch a tree pretty late right there. Fell down into that little hole, yeah.
It's a good aggressive line. This hole's a lot of fun to throw.
It is.
It's not too easy to see the shape of the fairway, but you've got brush to your right and a creek on your right. You've got a road OB left.
Which David just found.
Looks like David just went over, yeah. And it's very downhill the whole way. It is a par 4, but if you hit the gap and you keep a backhand turned over, or you push a flick down there, you can definitely have a good look for 2.
Yeah, most of the par 4s on this course are holes that you want to get 3s on. There are not two. There's really only one par 4, and that's hole 16, and when it's in the long, that, in my opinion, is extremely tough. Outside of that, you want to get your 3s on all the par 4s out here. And this one is included. As long as you just get off the tee and don't catch one of these first couple trees, you are fine. A few of the players showing you how to do it. Let's see if Ethan can make a good shot right here. He caught one of the trees that I was talking about that are about a third of the way down the fairway. That'll slow you down a lot. Makes for a tough approach because you're kind of flat and then having to go over elevation. And he kind of sawed that one off to the right.
Yeah, and it looked like he had a decent opening at it. You can see Garrett there is a little bit more obstructed. Some of that brush is really grabby, and if you get in it, it's really difficult to get out. Garrett, though, made a great recovery from in there. I'm surprised he got it out and that close to the basket.
And you do have to be careful, as Paul mentioned, there is a little creek that runs on this hole, and it plays OB if your disc is surrounded, which it's hard to get it fully surrounded, but at the same time, you'd be surprised at how many discs end up in there. Ethan ended up in the same spot as Garrett, and Chuck made a good shot right there. He's got a putt for 3. Brandon's approach, coming up a little bit shorter than he probably wanted, but still only has about 20 feet for his 3. And David, after pitching up, we missed his approach shot. He was OB on the first one, pitched up to short of the creek, didn't go in it, and now he's got a big putt for par right here. David, preparing for his putt. It's up. Splash. Nice one right there to save a par.
Really good conversion. Great save from him.
Ethan missed the first hole. He's looking to get on the birdie board with this putt right here. There you go.
Good putt from Ethan.
Oh, actually, I apologize. That was 4. I forgot he had a second shot that went a little bit awry on him. That was just a good par save. Garrett, though, nice 3.
Let's see if Brandon can match all the good putts so far.
He does.
He does.
And Chuck.
Shot tapping in.
Yep. I will say this course lacks nothing in beautiful scenery. That creek is just awesome right there, and you have mountains all around that look just lovely. And it makes for tough playing. You got a lot of tough rollaways on this course, and this hole can definitely cause some pretty bad rollaways. It doesn't look like there's a lot of elevation change, but it's a pretty steep slope that you're putting on. Some grabby, a little bit more grabby on this one, though, so a little bit of luck there. I'm flying through the flick line. Most people don't fly that line. However, it was the safest line for my drone to go through. Most people you were going to see take a backhand kind of out towards the road. However, if you're on the road or right of it, you're OB.
Yeah, and that's the play that Garrett's going for here. It's a pretty easy backhand line. There's a pretty big gap that you can hit. There is a little concern if you turn it over too much or kick to the right, you make OB, as you mentioned. Looks like Chuck's taking the safer hyzer forehand approach. And the difference there is that the hyzer forehand is going to get you up there, but you won't really be parked. You can maybe get into the circle if you've got a really good shot, but it's definitely much easier to get a drop in 2 or a simple 2 look from a backhand line.
For sure. I know I 2'd it the first round taking the flick route. However, the way that I did that flick route, I had to throw a bit of an ante shot instead of just throwing it almost straight hyzer. And it helps it get all the way towards the basket. And Ethan, he turned his over a little bit. Everyone's asking for a skip. He did not get it. He went OB. Brandon now, after a bit of a poor drive, making an approach. Hey, there's a good recovery. He'll have a putt for 3.
Yeah, and the approach on this hole is less important than the first shot generally. There is a slope everywhere, as you mentioned, but right near the basket there's a lot of longer vegetation, a lot of dead leaves, and the backstop, the way the slope is, you can pretty comfortably throw a shot straight into that and not worry about rolling too far away from the pin.
So we just saw Ethan nailed the first tree for his 3rd shot and have a long putt at bogey. He's going to have to settle for double on this hole. This is
Garrett just laying up.
Yeah.
See, it looks like David's setting himself up for a run.
This is one of those holes that it almost feels like a bonus birdie because it's very tough to get. David's putt, yeah, you can tell it's just low all the way, but par is never a bad score on this hole.
That looks like Chuck may have the closest look of the group. See if he can convert.
And this is probably from about 50 feet out or so.
Hmm.
Good height, just a little right. Brandon, he's got about a 20 to 25 footer to save his par now. Putt up, putt good.
Good putt from Brandon.
Ethan for a double. Not what you want to do really on any of the holes out here. There are potential at bogeys and whatnot with rollaways, but you usually want to try to limit your damage if you can. Double is not what you want to get, especially on a hole with not too much OB on it. And
yeah, and with as many birdies as there are out here, you really can't afford to make mistakes like that, where, if you take a bogey or a double, you're not just losing the 1 or 2 strokes, but in most cases 3, since the majority of the field is birdieing these holes. That hole, as you mentioned, is an exception. It's a little more difficult to birdie, but
yeah.
Still, I know he's not thrilled with that.
This one, however, is one that you really want to get birdies on. As long as you get out the initial gap and it's turning a little bit to the right, you're going to have a putt at it. The common play you're going to see most people take is throwing a flick kind of out over this little dogwood tree on the left and let it come back in towards the basket. We did miss the drives on the hole. It was super hard to get filming for it. It's a very downhill shot. We just missed all the drives, so we're picking people up at the putts.
Yeah, and it seems like if Ethan is out here, at least everybody made it out to the main gap, which is the worst mistake that you can make. I mean, if you get out there, you'll have some kind of look at it since it's such a short hole, but you're trying to avoid is hitting something really early and getting stuck back up on the hill. Oh, great putt there from David.
Look at it catch on that right side. That was awesome. Good 2 from him. Brandon.
It's quite a friendly basket. I know he's glad to get that one.
And Brandon looking to follow suit. Yeah, low the entire way. It is a much more elevated putt than it looks like from there. Wow, Ethan really sailed his putt. It didn't look like it went that far past. He's got about 30 feet right at circle's edge for a par.
Yeah, his upshot, if you
nice
float that shot, and you can carry downhill like that pretty easily. But no worries, made the comeback. Great putt from him.
Chuck looking to convert on a birdie right here. That one a little high, but holds.
It's a good putt. And on uphill putts, that's the mistake to make, in my opinion. It is. Because it's so difficult to get the height, because it's different than your normal stroke. You're not used to putting up so much. You're better off missing a little higher than a little lower. I feel like that miss is more likely to stay in.
Yeah, and I see a lot of low misses on uphill putts, hit cage, and then roll away afterwards as well. So anytime, high is usually good. Garrett, 3 under, Chuck and David 2, Brandon at 1, and Ethan Smith, he is at +2. Here's hole 5 now. It's really the first hole that you get to just kind of open up on this course. Not too much danger outside of the building that's on the right hand of the screen right there. You just make sure you go up and over it, and it's a pretty wide open hole. Long par 3, though. It's a tough one to get to. You got to have some pretty good power in order to reach it.
Yeah, and it is reachable, but this is the first opportunity for these guys to really test their distance, see how their long shots are feeling, and it's still significantly uphill, so it gives these players something to think about, not just a wide open bomb.
Yep, and you can see Garrett went a little right, Chuck sawed his off a little left down the hill. David steps up, puts a crush on this one. David, this is where I was really surprised. I didn't know how much power David had, and he got most of the way to the basket with that shot.
Yeah, that was a great-looking shot from him.
And Brandon, it's hard to see where that shot ended up, but he's actually got a pretty short putt for 2 as well. He's got sneaky distance himself.
Yeah, I'll see if Ethan can follow suit. This hole is, as you mentioned, a longer one. It's tougher to get, but definitely reachable for some of these guys.
Hey, Ethan threw his into the ground, got a little lucky that he actually got to the front side of that building. If you get behind it, there's no relief off of it outside of the 1 meter that you get off of man-made objects. So if he's behind that building, he's got to throw like tomahawk up and over.
Yeah, some simple up shots, and now we'll move to the close drives of the group, see if Brandon and David can convert. Brandon's up first.
About 35 feet out on this putt. Just low. Had the line. I mean, hits pole, but just low all the way. And now from...
Yeah, it looked like he didn't get the clean release that he wanted on that putt.
And this one from about 25. David's disc is actually inside of that little brook right there, but that one is a casual stream, so he gets to pull it from the back, no penalty, and converts on the 2.
Yeah, it was a great birdie from David.
Brandon quickly taps out his 3, along with everyone else. They're just going to have little simple tap-ins right here to finish off hole 5. Paul Kevin, I need to ask you really quick, what's something that you really enjoy about this course, or maybe just the area, or anything like that?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, it's a really beautiful course. I mean, it's a lot of fun to play there. It's one of those courses that you can go out and you might shoot 10 over par, but you'll still have a great day because it's so pretty and so much fun. Course-wise, I really like the mix that they have. There's a lot of uphill, downhill, a lot of open shots, wooded shots, and they're not all bunched together either. So there's a really good variety to keep you on your toes and really feel good about hitting some lines.
And for sure, this one is a little bit more of an open shot. However, it kind of lulls you into some mess right here, because if you get a little lackadaisical with the shot and try to just throw an easy hyzer up there and maybe pump it out a little bit too much, you can end up on the back side of that stuff on the right-hand side, and if you're over there, it is trouble for sure. David, though, shows you how to play it and puts a beautiful backhand to right up at the rocks. That is really the play you're going for, is if you can throw a shot to get it to land by the rocks where the basket is, that's a good one.
Yeah, most of these players are just going to be throwing simple backhand straight into the hill, right at the pin. As you mentioned, you don't really want to sail past because that can bring the OB into play. And if you miss too far right, then there's some trees and stuff to deal with. Chuck's getting a little skippy, but
and that is
he stays on that gravel.
That is in right there. It's only the black asphalt that is out of bounds. That little kind of gravel asphalt area right there, he is safe. But it's a scary putt, because if he misses that one, he sails all the way back down that hill. I wouldn't be surprised to see him try to lay that one up.
Yeah, it's a death putt for sure.
And then we see Ethan coming up, and that's a pretty good shot right there. Pretty common misses to go there, and you have about a 30-footer for 2 looking straight uphill at it.
Yeah, most players, if they're going to opt to miss, they'll miss short and left so that they don't worry about that OB and they don't have that hill to deal with. And as you mentioned, he's got a pretty safe run here that looks like he's lining up for.
Putt up. Good line, just a little low.
I should be able to tap in his 3 with no issue. Brandon, similar putt to Ethan, a little closer. See if he can connect for his birdie. Looks like his stance is a little awkward with that hill behind him, but
one thing you do have to worry about on putts like this, because it's landing, if you miss, like say you hit cage or something, if you miss and fall on those rocks, you never know what that frisbee is going to do. I've seen discs hit those rocks and roll 150 feet back down that hill towards hole 5. So that could have been running through Ethan and Brandon's head right there. Maybe they were thinking about that and missed just way too low because of it.
Yeah. Fortunately, it looks like Garrett and David are close enough that they're not too worried about that. They're just putting their putts in, no problem, getting the birdie and moving on. Great hole from them. Yeah,
so far both of them coming out pretty hot. I believe that'll put both at 4 under through 6 holes, which that's not real easy to do out here. You got a couple easy ones, but the last 4 they've played aren't necessarily the easiest of birdies, and they've got a couple of them in there.
Yep.
So now that's going to pull us to hole 7. We're going to get a peek at the scores right here. Looks like Chuck Harris sitting at 2 under. Garrett, Maddox, and David, as mentioned, are at 4. Brandon at 1 under. And Ethan, a little bit of a slow start for him. He is at +2. And now we're on to hole 7. This one I have seen some bad rollaways on for sure. This slope is severe. That basket sitting all the way at the top, so it tends to it makes you want to play a little bit of a hyzer shot up to it. But hyzer shots into slopes tend to roll away. So you might see some people try to throw a little bit of a flatter shot, but still the common play is just to throw a hyzer up towards it, because at the basket it can land a little bit soft, but if you don't hit at the basket, it rolls.
Yeah, and this is a touchy hole. We'll see how they all play it. As you mentioned, everybody's basically going to play a backhand hyzer, but there's different degrees, different ways to play it. As you see, David pushed a little bit long. That's an easy mistake to make, but generally not a very costly one. If you push long into the dead leaves and the trees back there, you're not likely to roll down the hill.
I know for me personally, a lot of people like to throw drivers or fairways on this hole. I actually took a mid-range coyote and just basically tried to throw it right at the basket just to get it to sit flat whenever it landed. And it worked.
Yeah, I agree with that play. I prefer to throw putter mid-range, something that take a line similar to
Oh, no.
what Chuck did, where you play it more
Please
straight
sit.
at the basket.
Please
and don't
sit.
put a steep angle. Unfortunately, he got a really bad bounce, and hate to see that roll all the way OB after landing so close to the pin, but
I mean, he played
see what
that.
he can do
Yeah,
from there.
he played that about how you want to play it too. I mean, it was a pretty flat shot up to it, just caught a root or something. Good shot from Brandon.
Yeah, it looked like he had a driver in hand, which may have been a little bit more skip happy.
Mhm.
Looks like Ethan's throwing a mid or something here.
Yeah, it flew like a mid, going a little bit too straight. He probably just missed his line. So now Chuck being forced to play 3 from down below this hill. It's almost about where the short pin or short tee location is. It's probably about 120 feet up the hill.
Yeah, and just at this point, he's just trying to pitch up and
Take bogey and get on. Or throw it in for a par. Holy cow.
What a shot from Chuck. That's quite an interesting way to get par. Land next to the pin, roll all the way down, and then throw your shot in anyway.
Yeah,
Great recovery from him.
Yeah, the good thing is it looks like a 3 on the scorecard either way. So
That's right. We'll see. Ethan pushed his a little right, as you mentioned, but he looks like he's going to be able to give it some bit of a run here.
yeah, as long as you don't work your way too far into those woods, you'll have a shot. And they have cleared it out a lot more back through there. Good putt. Oh, scary, but it sat.
Yeah, that was a good sit for him.
Yeah, one thing, as I mentioned earlier, whenever you hit cage going uphill, they have a tendency of wanting to roll away. So it's always nice to see one sit down after that. David, from 40 feet away. Putt up. Okay, sat as well.
Yeah, that was a really good sit. Looked like a good run from David, but just a little bit too low there at the end.
So Brandon looking to capitalize on the only 2 on the card. He's missed a couple short ones so far. Let's see if he can maybe make a mid-range one, 30 feet out on this putt.
Yeah, it'd be good to see him correct off his mistakes and try to get that putting stroke going.
There you go, kid. That one looked nice.
Yeah, good stroke there. Nice and confident. Didn't seem to have the really nose down or bad releases that he was getting on those missed putts. So hopefully he can continue that for the rest of the round.
Yep. Ethan and Garrett going to have to settle for a par on hole 7. And now on to hole 8. And entering into hole 8, we're going to take a peek at the scores. Once again, Garrett and David 4 under, Chuck and Brandon 2, and Ethan at +2. And hole 8 is a fun little shot off the tee box. You throw, you have huge elevation change going way downhill. Comes out this gap that it looks like it's pretty open right here, but from the tee box, it's a pretty tight little shot. It's hard to get it to the basket with it, and there's the basket coming into frame right now. You kind of got a couple trees and a power pole to contend with. I will say we missed the tee shots on this hole. It was just, once again, one of those huge elevation changes. It was hard to get a good angle without having 2 cameras. So we missed the tee shots, picking everyone up on their approaches.
Yeah, Garrett's throwing first, so it looks like everybody made it out. This hole is pretty difficult to park, really.
Yep.
But it's a simple 3 as long as you get out of the gap. The one mistake that you really want to avoid is hitting something early, kicking early right, staying early left, because that can really just cut you off and bring a bogey into play.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of like the common mistake you can make on this course in general. Is as long as you get past your first gap, you're probably going to be fine. Good putt from Ethan right there. That'll kind of dig into that +2 that he's gotten, move him to +1.
Yeah, I hope he can get quite a few more birdies out here on the rest of this course. Looks like he's starting to warm up and get a feel for it, but hope he can continue that momentum.
Temperature-wise, it's starting to warm up as well. And oh no, David. What happened there? We saw one of those catch on hole 4 for him, but that time the basket a little less forgiving.
Yeah, I guess it evens out. One strong side putt caught, one strong side putt fell, but I know I'm speaking on his behalf. He would certainly hope that those both fell. That looked like a pretty good putt that could have gone either way.
Chuck showed him how to do it, and that's hit weak side low and let it fall in. And Brandon taps in his par. Garrett is going to come up for the little cleanup as well. We were playing fivesomes all day. It went pretty slow at some points. There were some holes that took quite a while to play. They had long waits on them. Front 9 wasn't too bad. It gets a little bit bad on the backside. So Garrett and David 4 under, Chuck at 3, Brandon at 2, and Ethan moving up to +1. Here's hole 9, last hole on the front side. OB to the right if you're on the road or over it. Outside of that, the basket is a little bit protected by a tree to the right side of it. And really your goal is just throw it into that hill pretty near the basket and then make a putt and hope you don't roll away.
Yeah, and that hill serves as a bit of a backstop. So you'll see most players throwing probably some kind of driver because you're not worried about going long as you get the height right. And that was a great shot from Chuck there.
Yeah, he's about 10 feet long, and that's an easy putt from there.
Yeah, and you'll see right off the bat a backhand and a sidearm. So you do have the freedom to throw it either way. The sidearm might have a slightly more open gap towards the pin, but I think the backhand sort of plays into the hill a little bit better.
It does.
You saw Ethan saw his off a little bit. He's down the hill, we putting up at it, but he did stay in bounds, which is good.
Yeah, and Brandon, very similar spot.
Yeah. So David saw those two sidearms and he's going to throw a backhand instead.
Yeah, no thanks, I'm going to take that. He said, oh, baby, on that shot. He thought that was lining up right at it.
Yeah, that was a great play from him. It's a textbook drive, just throw it straight at the pin, and if anything, let it fall a little left.
Now we got Garrett. He's lining up a backhand as well. Looks like it might be some type of maybe T-bird or something of that nature. And that one's looking decent as well. Woo! Good.
Garrett and David right on top of each other, both playing great rounds and showing this hole how it should be played.
Brandon pitched his up, maybe not as close as he would have liked to have got it. We'll see what he's able to do from there. Ethan.
Yeah, it's a pretty uphill putt from down there. There's not really anything in their way. There may be some hanging limbs or something, but they're definitely trying to get this right at the pin. And Ethan did that.
And that is something to mention just once again. It is so hard to show elevation on this course. Like it was extremely uphill from where Brandon and Ethan just were. So the fact that they're able to save from there and make sure it doesn't go any further than just a par is good.
Yeah, so Brandon hit that putt. Good save from him. Chuck is the first attempt at birdie, and he makes good. Good putt from him. Great drive. And I'm sure Garrett and David will follow suit.
Yeah, it's always nice whenever you come up to a hole, you're 10 feet out, and you're the third one away.
Right. Garrett taps in. David should do the same without any issue. Ethan's getting antsy. He's ready to finish this hole and move on to the next. But
he said, you got to wait for David to putt, son. And you're going to also have to wait for part 2 to come out right after this. So sorry, man. That's going to take a little bit of time. But either way.
Ready for it.
Yeah, I can see him walking to hole 10 right there. So scores after 9. 5 under for Garrett and David. Chuck at 4 under. Brandon at 2 under. And Ethan, he fought back a little bit. Still over par, though, at +1. Paul, Kevin, talk a little bit about that first part.
Yeah, so Garrett and David really off to a good start. I think personally on this course, the back 9 is a little easier to score on relative to par anyway, so they're looking to get some hot rounds. Chuck just a little bit behind. He'll try to do the same. Hope to see Ethan pick it up a little bit on the back. He's got a lot of chances there, but he and Brandon are not too far away by any means.
That is for sure. Well, thanks, everyone, for watching, for sure. I do want to say, please make sure that you like and subscribe, and we will catch you in the next part. See you, everyone.